Salvation is my best gift ever. You're the tree of life. I was lost, now I am found.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel once again. Jerome Mugiwaya. Today, we are going to question everything. When you are awake, you have to question everything to make a sense out of it. What do I mean by that? Well, something is not right. Something is not right. As you see here, what is not right? Let's see. How do we know about the 140 before Christ Antioch? We know about Jonathan the Maccabeus. We know Alexander the Great. We know about all the battles that took place before Christ. And still, we don't know about Christ in full details. Why is that? How can you explain that you know the Romans' history, you know all the battles that took place before Christ he was even born, and still you don't know about Christ himself, other than the general picture we have of our Messiah? We deserve to know more and more in details about our Messiah, Yeshua Mashiach, the Christ. Let's see. For example, we know about the 140 before Christ Antioch battle. We have all details about what happened 140 years before Christ was born. We know all about this, but still we don't know about Christ himself. Jonathan the Maccabeus. You know Jonathan. How come do we know about Jonathan and still we don't know about the Christ himself? Alexander the Great. Alexander, was he really the great or not the great? Why? Why am I saying that whether he was the great or not? Remember, we have to question everything. The reason why I'm questioning or doubting whether he was the great or not is simply because the history books tell us that he was really the great and the greatest ever. But when you read the story from another perspective, you realize that he might not have been the great as you can see here, the Arabian who killed Alexander. How could the Arabian cut off Alexander's head and still, yes, he was the great? This is something that is not adding up, because maybe you may say, okay, he used to be the great from the start, and the time moved on, he might have lost power. So how are we going to be or keep being convinced that he was the great, and we never hear about how he died and how this Arabian guy cut off his hair, cut off his head? So we know about all the wars that took place around that time. And of course, in the book of Maccabees, we know Jonathan, the son of Matthias, speaks about the books of the Bible back then, 140 before Christ, where he says that he was not afraid of any enemies because they had the books of the scriptures. They had the books of the scriptures. Not one book, 2, 3, 4. They had the books of the scripture, you know? So that means back in 140 before Christ, the gospel they had back then was genuine and pure and original. That's how I came to conclude that in 140 before Christ, the books of the scripture they had was authentic. Reason why I'm looking around to see if I can find this treasure, the manuscript they used to have with all these different books. I happened to get the one that they were using in the fourth century. I will verify and check if it's the original one because it's written in Greek. I'm still waiting to get it translated so that I can know if it's the right one, the real one, the genuine one. Then we can see what they were reading back then in the 4th century. Still, the 4th century, we can have a kind of big picture of what they used to read. So, here comes the big picture then. Why don't we know about Christ the way we should? You know, they tell us about the Christ when he was 30 years old, when he started teaching, and then we don't hear about his childhood, how he grew up, what he did, up to that age when he started teaching. Why don't we hear about that? Question mark and the big one. Because it's the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, the Christ. We deserve to know every bit of his time while he was here on earth. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like when I discover. And I believe we all deserve to know more and more about Christ. And the reason why, you see, some people do not even believe that Christ exists because this part of his history is hidden. Why is it hidden? Why don't we know about our Messiah? Why something is not adding up when the history of Yeshua HaMashiach, the Christ, is talked about and we don't have the full details? This is your duty to figure out on your own as eyes opening. Do your research. I don't mind. In this time, we have to know the truth because the truth will make us free. Thank you very much for watching. May God bless you. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Salvation is my best gift ever. You're the tree of life. I was lost, now I am found.